What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction. Back with some more progressive trance and a melodic trance classic, if you ask me. This is a tune by M-Traxx, a duo that only existed seemingly for like 2 to 3 years. I think all the releases happened between 97 and 99. 3 of them, I think, on this label DMD, a German label. There's a couple other releases on a different label, I'm forgetting the name. But yes, this is one of my favorites that I discovered before I had turntables, which is to say there was some compilation. I forget what it was called. It was a 2 CD compilation. I think I still have one of the 2 CDs somewhere. I'll have to check. But the point is, I first heard this on that compilation, and then a few years later I was shopping around and I flipped and I saw, oh, Wake Up Little Child, I know this track. And it turns out there's actually a remix on the other side called the Don't Sleep mix, which I like. Wake Up is the name, or Wake Up Little Child is the name of the track, and then one of the mixes is the Don't Sleep mix. That being said, we're going to listen to the club mix, which was the version on the CD compilation that I had. And it's a very beautiful tune. It's a very dreamy tune, which I suppose makes sense. Wake up, little child. You wake up from sleep and perhaps from dream, perchance to dream. And yeah, I've used it in a number of my trance mixes. I think I've used both mixes, but to me the club mix is always the classic one with the nostalgic factor because it's the one that was on that compilation, though they are admittedly very similar. And I think maybe the Don't Sleep mix, one of the major differences is that there's this little rhythmic acid snarl, but it's not prominent enough where I would call it acid trance. Even that version I would still call melodic or progressive trance, but it's just a really beautiful tune, and it sort of gives me like snow territory, like Arctic beauty type of vibes, like seeing a forest or a mountainside covered in snow. It sort of gives me that atmosphere. So with no further ado, let's give it a listen. This is the club mix of Wake Up Little Child by M-Traxx on DMD Records, and it's from 1997. What do you think, Luca? She's purring. I don't know if you can hear it. like that ethereal vocal that's clearly been pitched up. A similar melody, but a shift compared to the earlier part. Now it's upward. Maybe climbing up that snowy mountain. I love that return of that melodic, ethereal vocal. I will have to say also, while this is another track I think you can use as both an opener and an ender, because it has some atmosphere and some rhythm on both ends, which is nice. And indeed, it relates to what I'm ultimately saying, which is, if you're mixing out of that record, you can let it ride the whole way into your new tune, even if the bass line and some of the melody from the new tune is playing. To have that little like wood tap rhythm and that ethereal vocal layered over whatever tune you've just mixed into, I think is a really great effect, and I think I've used this tune in that fashion in a number of my sets. Again, it just gives me this, in your headspace, in this beautiful environment, whether snow-covered or otherwise, though that is definitely the way my brain sees it, and of course with reference to waking up and wanting to get wild, it suggests that there is a dreaminess to it, but also a desire to translate that into action or transform that into action. And yeah, I think it's a good example of what I often call mixtape trance, in that there's trance tunes that I think are more conducive to a party set because maybe they have a bit more energy or a bit more of a big build up with rolling snares and a big crash right when the drop comes. And then tracks that lend themselves better to a mixtape where you might be listening on your own at home, with headphones on, or, just in your room, or indeed driving home from a party at 4 or 5 in the morning and you're looking out at, the sun rising over the horizon. Now, I do think you could play this at a party, though I see it at an outdoor party. Again, you could probably pull it off in an indoor set if a lot of the other tunes you were playing were similarly atmospheric. But to me, this either screams outdoor party or even mixtape trance. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely a cognitive vibe to this one more than a visceral one. And as I said, there is a great mix on the other side with maybe even a bit more acid, though it's not fundamentally different. It's basically the same tune, was just slightly rearranged, slightly tweaked. But yeah, again, it's one that goes back to the early days for me, before I even had turntables, when I was just buying CDs and picking up a handful of mixtapes here and there. The first few mainly from my older brother, who began going to rave parties slightly before me, and I've told the story before, but introduced me to Goa trance and other types of trance, and through that I discovered acid trance, acid techno, decided to get my own turntables, and now here we are more than 30 years later, or wait, slightly less than 30 years later. Let me do my math correctly. But yes, the point is, it was one of the tracks that got me interested in being a DJ, because I was just like, oh, I love this tune and this tune, but there's other tracks on this compilation that maybe aren't my favorite, and I was already, without really thinking about it in that way, doing what DJs do, which is, picking between different tracks and even different releases overall that suit their tastes, their stylings that they want to hear, which, I've heard people talk before, like, oh, you DJs, you always listen to your own mixes. It's like, well, there's a reason for that, because when I hear someone else's mix, sure, I might discover a track like, ooh, like, I want to get that tune, like, what is, who is that track by, and whatever. But by and large, in most other sets from DJs, or DJs other than myself, there's always going to be a few tunes, if only a couple in some cases, where it's like, I don't know if I'd play this one. It's okay, it's fine, it's not my favorite. But when you play a set, you're picking all tunes that you enjoy for one reason or another, and on one level or another. So yeah, DJs tend to listen to their own mixes because every track from beginning to end is something that they think has quality and value. So that's how that goes. But yes, as I said, this is a classic trance tune. Although I say that, I don't think it's on the level of something like Lost Tribe, The Game Master, or Transa Enervate, or some of these tunes that I heard many DJs play and were on lots of, greatest trance of the 90s compilations and so on. So I think this is maybe a bit more obscure or lesser known, but to me it's on that same level, and it's just as nostalgic because I happened to come across it at a very early stage of me listening to trance music and going to rave parties. So big shout out to M-Traxx. As I said, they have a few other releases, but this is the only one of theirs that I have on vinyl, so maybe at some point we'll come back and do a reaction to the Don't Sleep mix. Let me know what you think of the club mix, and I will see you next time. Peace.